welcome to the Word Hole Media presentation of Major League A-Holes. I'm MVP.
I'm Ryan. You are in the hole with Major League A-Holes, episode 171. This is essentially that we're at the halfway point. Every team has played 80. I don't think anyone's got the 81 yet, but we're essentially the 81 game point. So why not talk about the first half in terms of who is the first half badass at every position across the board? Kind of our version of the All-Star balloting process, taking our badass of the week or badass of the month idea to badass of the first half. And then we'll go around position by position and then determine our ultimate badass, who is the MVP of the first half. So not the MVP, that's you. You've established that. We've also got the Tigers, first team to 50 wins. We've got some on-field fan and player spats going on, not only in Detroit, but also in Chicago on the Southside there. So we'll talk about that in your White Sox. The Cubs have a losing record so far in June, but Sammy Sosa's back in town, so everything's fine. We'll talk about that. Your Giants have some news. We talked about the Rafael Devers trade, and he crazily enough, faced the Red Sox this past weekend with much fanfare. And then the Los Ocramento A's broke ground on a new stadium that is yet to be financed in Las Vegas. So there's some questions there. I'm not really sure what was going on. I was kind of blindsided by that news the other day. So we will talk about that. So I think with that, we might as well go ahead and jump into the news. The news is the Tigers remain the best team in baseball, the first team to 50 wins. They were the first team to 30 wins, 40 wins, and now 50 wins. May that trend continue. On pace for, do the math, 100 wins for the season. It's kind of amazing. So, I mean, even if they play 500 from here on out, they're on pace for they still put them in around 90 wins. So, unreal season, even though things haven't been perfect. They did have a 3-game losing streak, their third 3-game losing streak of the season over this weekend. Fortunately, they have followed up each of the previous 2 3-game losing streaks with winning 7 out of 8. And so far, they've won 2 out of 2 after falling to Tampa, losing a series for the first time in a long time. But they went to Tampa. Have your White Sox played Tampa yet?
No,
In Steinbrenner Field?
No.
It was an odd experience. I wonder if you had seen it, but it's basically like they're playing in a minor league ballpark, even though it's a really fancy Yankee version of a minor league park. About 11,000, I think, is the capacity. It's probably a little bit nicer than Sacramento, where the A's have been playing, but it's just balls hot there. I mean, as you'd expect, there's a thunderstorm rolls, pop-up thunderstorm rolls through every afternoon. It's just it was kind of a cool atmosphere though, because it was a full 11,000 ballpark, which you don't really see a full ballpark at when the Rays play at Tropicana Field. So it's kind of a better atmosphere, just because anything's better than that concrete blister. So it was just odd. The oddest thing, of course, is how tiny it is. It's only 314 or 318 down the lines. So the ball's just flying out. Lots of home runs, lots of scoring. Tampa also happens to be the hottest team in baseball over the last month or so, and they showed it to the Tigers. Fortunately, the Tigers salvaged Game 3, but they gave up a lot of home runs this week and a lot of runs in general. So prior to that, the first game of that 3-game losing streak happened on the second part of a doubleheader in Detroit against the Pittsburgh Pirates, as we missed a huge opportunity with some rainouts and some scheduling. There was a potential that Paul Skeens could face off against Tarek Skubal on Thursday, and the rains came and created the doubleheader. But AJ Hinch said he simply asked Tarek Skubal which game did he want to pitch in the doubleheader. He's like, I want the first one, so I know my routine. I know what time the game's going to start. Can do all that and not have to worry about Game 2, like the dynamics of that, how those could change over the day. So, and somehow the Pirates had already scheduled Paul Skeens to pitch in the night game. So it did not line up, which is frustrating for baseball fans. They were the easily the two best pitchers in baseball over the last year. Would have been a cool matchup, but Scuba went in game one, took care of business. They won that series. Game one was delayed an hour. So Tarek's strategy of knowing his schedule was kind of screwed up by Mother Nature, but he still prevailed. Game two, of course, had they tried to get everybody out of the ballpark, and because they did it wasn't a straight doubleheader, it was a split to get the two gates. But there was very minimal time in between because of that rain delay. And because both teams, it was a getaway day for both teams. So they wanted to get that done as fast as possible. And the weather was just not cooperating. It was also unbelievably hot in Detroit. I think it's been same heat in Chicago. So I'm sure you know exactly what we're talking about. But
oh yeah, it's like an armpit out there.
Yeah, it's a little bit better today, but it's still crazy humidity. But I think all of that kind of led to a long day at the ballpark. A lot of delays, a lot of heat. The big incidents happened with fans in the stands in Detroit clashing with Pirates players. There's two specific incidents. One, I didn't see anything specific on social media about, but it was or video of necessarily, but it was Tommy Pham got into it with fans and had 3 fans ejected behind home plate. Tommy Pham, of course, famous for his assault, I guess you'd call it, of teammate Jock Peterson at the time over a fantasy football dispute. I don't think he punched him. It was a slap, I think it was.
Yeah, it was like a bitch slap sort of situation.
Tommy Pham, you don't want to fuck around with Tommy Pham. So he had 3 fans ejected for. There's not much video or audio evidence to know what was said, but it was enough to have them ejected. The other issue happened in the Pirates bullpen, where some Tiger fans were just giving the bullpen some shit. In fact, Dennis Santana, I forget, not Dennis Martinez, Dennis Santana. There's video footage of him taking a swipe at some high school or college kids, probably overserved, who had been heckling the bullpen all day. After the game, Dennis said it's not in his character to overreact, but they stepped over the line. And there is social media footage of that the guys posted. They were trying to go viral essentially. And of course that footage is edited, so you can't see what they were saying to him prior to him taking a swipe at them, or what they had been saying for potentially hours to him before he snapped. So I guess that's going to be it's an easy subject for our asshole of the week. Just fans abusing their privileges, probably getting overserved, forgetting that they're dealing with human beings. I don't know what was said in the Tigers bullpen or to the Pirates bullpen, but you can't believe it was anything good. But we have a similar incident happened last night on Southside of Chicago with the White Sox, a fan talking to Ketel Marte from the Arizona Diamondbacks. And it was kind of a really disturbing scene, how emotional Ketel was, having to be consoled by his manager. Were you watching the game at the time?
Not at that moment. We had shut it off because it was looking abysmal.
It was 10-0, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was not good. So anyway, we had shut it off, and then I heard about it first thing this morning and watched the footage. First of all, I didn't need who studies up before they go to the game, because I'm assuming this is a White Sox fan, obviously.
Yes.
Who studies up that Ketel Marte's mother died in 2018 and is going to heckle him about it.
Yeah, she passed away in a tragic car accident in the Dominican Republic, is what I heard.
Yeah, and
then heckle him about it. Yeah, do the research just to heckle him about it.
What is going on in your head where that is funny? Because there's nothing funny about it. It's just disturbing. Almost, equally as disturbing as the guy who's going to murder Sosa's family. But so he was far enough away from Sosa, so Sosa never probably even heard him. it was only us who were disturbed and worried about our lives.
Yeah. Well, who does this? Assholes. I mean, that's why we've created this weekly award, the weekly dishonor. I mean, asshole of the week is an easy thing to bestow on certainly someone that does the research and then finds just the worst moment in Ketel Mache's life, finds a way to try to exploit that to get in his head during a fucking baseball game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little more sensitive to this than ever because my mom just passed away a year ago, almost exactly. So to hear that someone would do that specifically, trash talk is one thing, but when you talk about family members and tragic moments, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean I feel like some of the comments from MLB players on this are that fans are at an all-time low, would say,
Yeah.
in their heckling and in the way they're heckling, and there's really no place for that. If you want to have some fun with the guys, that's fine. But
even talking shit about their game or you suck or whatever, but
yeah,
yeah,
getting personal is just completely out of line. I mean, thankfully the White Sox quickly acted and he is banned from a lifetime ban from the ballpark. But like to see a player crying on the field because he's just so disturbed by the comments that were made is
it was serious. He wasn't just tearing up, he was kind of inconsolable for a while.
Yeah.
And the manager was out, they had a bullpen or a change of pitchers, I guess, and how the infield all comes into the pitcher's mound, and he had to be kind of held together by his manager. So, and everyone's just furious on the Diamondback side, justifiably. So,
yeah, the Sox put a nice message on the board today on today's game.
Just before we jumped on the air, I think Spiegel and Holmes, I was listening to, they were going to talk about that coming after the break. So yeah, I almost wanted to delay the podcast so I could hear what was going on. So I'm glad you're bringing this up.
Yeah, they had your White Sox family supports you, something along those lines.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah, and I know they had talked about on the broadcast today that Will Venable and some of the players had reached out to him to.
Oh wow, that's classy.
Apologize for something that wasn't their fault, but that happened at their ballpark.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. Yeah, it's in there, but I can. That's the right way to handle it.
Yeah.
Well, good job, White Sox. I rarely say that. So
yeah, I mean,
proud of you guys.
The one thing, I don't know. I was like just so I can't even there's not even anything. Can't even. This is usually a pretty fun podcast, but there's nothing funny about this at all.
No.
So I think we should just move on from that.
We could just move on, yeah, for sure.
And congratulate the White Sox on taking the final game of the series. It's a 7-3 victory today, giving them their 26th win, which is one win away from their total wins in the first half of 2024. So, and when I say first half, I mean All-Star break first half.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
of 2024. So I think the Sox are going to eclipse that by.
I think you're going to be all right.
By some, for sure.
Baby steps.
But interesting. It's been an interesting week, I think, for all of our teams. But the Sox go into to Toronto on an 0-8 on an 8-game losing streak.
Yeah,
and especially it happened at home where they had been so good, and I had just boasted they were knocking on the door of going 500 at having a 500 record at home because they were only a couple games under 500, and then they lose 8 in a row. Then they go to the Blue Jays, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. And then they take 2 out of 3 in Toronto, and then come back home, lose the first 2 to the hottest team in the NL, in the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're 14-7 in the month of June. That's crazy. But they got to the bullpen early today, and we all know that is not a good situation in Arizona. And, they were able to knock out 3 home runs today. Benintendi had 1, Sammy Sosa had 2, probably eclipsing his home run total of all of last year already. So it was a fun day at the ballpark. But, being again, I don't have the 8-game losing streak was a little tough to watch. A lot of those were 1-run losses.
You had a positive attitude about the White Sox after the last show, but
yeah,
it kind of went to shit after that.
Well, that's why it was hard to watch because it was easier to watch 8 games in a row last year because it was just sort of anticipated, right?
Right.
I'm not into extended losing streaks anymore. Like, it's just not like, I just feel like this team's better than that. And, at some point, 1-run losses are going to turn into 1-run or 2-run wins. And they're definitely on the right path. I did want to quickly talk about, I don't know if you've seen this kid they brought up, Grant Taylor.
I've heard about him, your new closer.
Yeah. And I want to talk about managing. Being a smart manager, which you're aware of because of AJ Hinch.
Mm-hmm.
They brought Taylor in today in the 7th inning. And you at first are thinking, well, why are they bringing the closer in the 7th inning? Well, because coming up, we're 9-1-2. So if Grant Taylor comes in and takes care of business in a closer-like situation facing the best part of their lineup, the Sox win the game. And that's exactly what happened. He ended up pitching the 7th and the 8th. He allowed 1 run in the 8th, which was kind of fluky. There was a number off an end of the bat, and he kind of, the ball slipped out of his hand. Runner got on first and just kind of, they moved him around and got him in before the 3rd out could happen. But he's hitting like 103. Most over half his pitches have been over 101 miles an hour. So
I think, to your point, I think most smart managers, you don't hear the term closer coming out of their mouth ever. They just they put their best pitcher, their best reliever in the highest leverage situation, whatever inning that happens to be, or innings if it needs to be. So the traditional closer role is going away in favor of, when does it make the most sense to put my best, when does the matchup specifically make the most sense? And that's, I think, that's the genesis of, or the building block of pitching chaos, coined by AJ Hinch. And that's like a very simple concept that is starting to catch on everywhere, but it's going to, like with everything with baseball, change is glacial. So everyone's going to continue to look for a closer, a traditional, well, he's got to be in here in the 9th inning, no matter what. I think smart managers are realizing that's stupid.
Yeah.
Why not put him in the most critical situations?
Yeah, I'm just not used to it. So like I get really excited when shit like that happens. Dude.
It's awesome. Yeah. You've got a competent manager.
Yeah.
It's a whole new ball game, so to speak.
And I was like, they're like, Grant Taylor's coming in. I'm like, oh. And then I looked and I'm like, oh, yeah, of course he's coming in because these guys have killed us the entire series. So he gets 6 outs over the heart of the lineup, and then they bring in Smith at the end of the game to just clean it up. And it was a good win today on the Southside, which I'm excited about. The Giants roll into town this weekend. I'm going on Saturday. Goodness. I'm going on Saturday.
So here, there's my ask Cole question, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go in Giants gear, don't you?
No. I told you I'm going to cut my jersey in half.
Oh, so half and half.
No, I'm not. I'm kidding.
Yeah, we decided that was a terrible idea, but your Giants have the playoff aspirations, division aspirations. You can't be rooting for them to lose.
I'm rooting for a good game.
Oh, come on.
And I can't go in Giants gear if I'm going to meet up with my new best buddy, Len Casper, before the game.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you haven't exploited that relationship yet.
That's on the table. The offer's there. It hasn't happened yet. We'll see what happens on round 2 if I make it up there or not.
Yeah, I forget what episode that was, but check out an older podcast version where you tell the whole story about how you met Len Casper and how you've been invited to, I don't know, like hang out before the game. Like what do you hope to happen?
I hope to he said he'd bring me up to have me brought up to the Robin and I up to the radio booth and, say hi to him and DJ. And
that would be fucking awesome. What day is this?
This is Saturday. So okay. I think it's a 3:10 start, maybe. Yeah, 3:10 start. I'm pretty sure. We got some pretty fucking sweet seats for normal prices. We're in that club level, the 300 level.
Oh,
with like the upgraded food and in-seat service. I mean,
yeah, I've sat there a couple times. And yeah, you got that whole concourse area, like the indoor concourse.
Yeah, which will be
limited
good.
restroom, plenty of restroom access.
Yeah, it'll be good because it's supposed to be like 100% humidity and like 90.
Is it still hot? Shit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that'll be good. So I'll report in on the success or non-success of.
Yeah, get an interview for the podcast here.
Maybe I'll get Len onto this podcast for us. Yeah.
You've got a recording device in your pocket at all times.
Maybe
so why not?
Maybe I'll just have him on as a guest. What do you think? Push us to the next level.
He is the nicest guy. I'm not sure he'd be interested in being on a podcast called Major League A-Holes, but you never know.
Well, maybe if he listened to it and realized we actually do, kind of know what we're talking about, he might not be.
I'm not so sure about that.
It's the name that throws people off. But then when they hear us, sometimes they're like, oh yeah.
Should we consider telling him it's called something different? Maybe we should brainstorm some different name ideas.
Well, it's MLA, Major League Always.
Yikes.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. We done with your White Sox, or do you have more going on?
That's all I got. Again, still, it's not gonna be all cupcakes and rainbows this year. Obviously, it's another rebuilding year, but there's a lot of good things going on with the young talent. So I remain excited for the future of this organization.
You got to stay positive. Well, it is not all cupcakes and rainbows on the north side these days either. The Chicago Cubs actually have a losing record for the month of June so far. They lost the series since we last joined you last week. They lost over the weekend to the Mariners, who really kind of beat the fuck out of them. Cal Raleigh, the big dumper.
Oh my God, that dude! What the fuck?
Completely dominated. So many balls going out of the ballpark. The wind has certainly shifted. The weather's gotten hot. The wind is blowing out. Unfortunately, it's usually the opponents though hitting the home runs, or at least more of them than the Cubs are. They have, in the last 6 games, I think that's literally since we last joined you, they've given up 54 runs. That would be 9 runs a game.
I'm sorry. That is crazy. That's fucking crazy.
And the most frustrating part is that includes 2 games in St. Louis already this week where they're giving up 8 or 9 runs. So actually what they're giving up is 2-run home runs. They give up 6 2-run home runs in the 2 games so far in St. Louis. It's unbelievable. They usually walk a guy and then on the next pitch they fucking give up a dong. So it's been a frustrating week. Weird thing, St. Louis. This is the first series versus St. Louis all season. We're halfway through the year, and this is the first time they're playing St. Louis. But they're in St. Louis, and there is no one in the crowd. There is no one in the seats there. I don't know if they had 10,000 people there last night.
Wow.
It's like it's really jarring because I don't pay attention to the fucking Cardinals, but I don't remember ever seeing the ballpark that empty.
No.
In all my years. It's a weird. They have like excessive heat warnings and stuff like that. It's part of it, as a lot of the country is having right now, but. You'd think those people in Missouri would be used to it by now. So I don't know what's going on with them and especially for a key rivalry series like this to have it so lowly attended is really odd, and it's kind of a weird atmosphere. And it also sucks that the Cubs keep losing to them. And in fact, they've given up a huge chunk of their pretty comfortable lead. They're only 2.5 games up now on both the Cardinals and the Brewers. So it's kind of a troubling times. We've got Shota Imanaga coming back reportedly tomorrow, which will be huge for a beleaguered rotation. There's all sorts of speculation out there about what Jed Hoyer might do at the trade deadline, or sooner than that. There's rumors out there there might be a trade in the works as soon as this week or in the next week to 10 days. We speculated about that last week, and
yeah.
Basically everything I brought up last week got blown out of the water. I kept bringing up like Chris Sale.
Yeah, that got blown up big time.
First of all, the general manager said there's no way they're trading him. And then the next day, Sale broke his rib cage. Did you see how that was reported? They didn't see he had a broken rib. He basically was diving for a ball and just fell.
Yeah.
Didn't look like a crazy, dangerous thing he was doing. He just dove for a ball, and he didn't break a rib. They said he broke his rib cage. So I don't know if multiple ribs came off his sternum, or what that means. But
that would be like shattered ribs, I think.
yeah,
Is really how that's normally phrased.
Well, but the weird thing is he stayed in the game and struck out the next guy, and then he was out after that. So maybe it was just poor wording, but everywhere I saw it said rib cage, and I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so I'm not going to speculate more about trades. I'm going to just kind of sit back. I mean, Sandy Alcantara or Alcantara, I've heard it pronounced both ways multiple times. So he keeps coming up. He keeps pitching well. So that's always out there. But that's we'll see. I'm going to just stay tuned and enjoy the ride for that, hopefully. But regardless, the Cubs, they're showing some. They're taking on water. It's a leaky boat right now, but doesn't really matter because fuck it. Sammy Sosa's back in town.
Woo!
I mean, everyone was so fired up on Friday with the return of Sammy Sosa. 21 years since he exited the ball game, the final game of the 2004, clandestinely, left the game before the game was over. I think it was the fourth or fifth inning. He left after a terrible final week of the season where it looked like they were going to the playoffs. They shit the bed. And I think the Mets actually or maybe the Mets swept them that week or something to knock them out of the playoff race. Sammy left the game before it was over, which is probably the biggest cardinal sin you could ever do against your teammates. He denied it, of course. The Cubs then produced surveillance footage, security cam footage from the parking lot showing him leaving before the game was over, which I will always laugh about. That is where the famous boombox smashing incident happened. Allegedly, Kerry Wood was the perpetrator, but he was definitely a leader of that team and probably well supported by the rest of his teammates, as Sammy Sosa was a terrible teammate. He was also a terrible, maybe I'm not going to call him a terrible human being. He's not a good guy. And I think that's pretty easy to see. His teammates hated him. Beyond the corked bat incident, he's clearly a cheater. He's an alleged steroid user. I think we can confirm that. So all the fanfare with Sammy returning, it began this winter when he was there in spring training. He was at Cubs convention, and he finally returns to the ballpark. And he's the center of attention, which is what he's all about. Loving every second of it. And I've probably devoted way too much time in this podcast talking about a guy I just don't like. I don't wish any ill upon him. I just don't want to hear about him anymore. But that's not going to be the case because he's going to be all over the place. Most likely, I'm not sure if it's been announced, but he will make the Cubs Hall of Fame. If he will potentially never make the National Baseball Hall of Fame, but he will be in the Cubs Hall of Fame sooner than later. So he had a media blitz. He was everywhere you could look. You could find Sammy Sosa on Friday and Saturday, and including on one of my favorite shows, Inside the Clubhouse, on The Score on Saturday mornings with Bruce Levine and David Haw. He, of course, had to be interviewed first thing Saturday morning. And Bruce Levine is kind of the patriarch, kind of the old head of Chicago baseball journalism. He's been around forever, and he's had this radio talk show for this particular one's only been about 15 years, but he had it for 20 years before that on ESPN 1000. He's also he says all the time that he is a friend of Sammy Sosa, that they are friends just because they've known each other for so long. So that's how we got Sammy to agree to the interview. And I'm sure they talked about the parameters of the questions before this interview, but somehow Sammy is still unprepared for the question that everyone in a responsible journalist position would ask about how he views the steroid era that he came through, and if he is apologetic or what his thoughts are, at least. So I think you've got I literally put the transcript down because it was so ridiculous. Parts of it are ridiculous because of the way Bruce phrased the question, a tough question, to his friend. But certainly Sammy's response, which is very similar to what we heard when he was first asked when he showed up to Cubs convention over the winter. So I think you've got the transcript over there.
Yeah. So Bruce asked, what are your deepest thoughts about the steroids era you played in and people trying to pick out different players as to whether they did good, bad, or not enough? So Sosa replied, I'm going to try to make sure I read it verbatim because
and I wrote it down verbatim.
Because there's words missing and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Sammy responds, well, look, when we played, we played the game. Like I said.
Wait, when we played the game. Okay.
They don't play the game anymore. They just play.
Right.
They
yes.
Play. Yeah. Like I said, that was the moment. We played the game the way it was. So I don't know about you, but that one to me is admitting he took steroids.
I think that's what he got to, was saying that everyone was doing steroids. So he was doing steroids as well.
So he played the game like it was, juicing up, which, he is right actually, but
yeah,
and that's fine. It's fine. And then, like I said, it's a different era right now. I mean, everything is different. They have some different opportunities now.
You've heard that. You've heard that nervous laughter from Sammy.
Yeah. They have different opportunities now that you can go out there and have a better year.
I have no idea.
I don't know what the fuck that means. Is it the pitch clock? Bigger bases? Maybe it's the bigger bases.
Maybe he's alluding to there's like some other steroids going on that no one knows about. So who knows?
But I played with a lot of good players. I agree. I don't pick and choose anybody. Okay, way to tap out of the question.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the same. Like I said, I'm just happy to be back here and the future looks bright.
Yeah. So Bruce wasn't asking him to name names. He was asking him like what he thought about some people getting, like, he's trying to help Sammy out. He's like, well, you got singled out, but we know there are other Hall of Famers that did steroids that just got away with it because they have good personalities, such as David Ortiz.
Yeah, David Ortiz, Jesus.
So there's it's pretty simple. So either Sammy didn't understand, and I guess you could say, it's English is his second language. So he's, when he gets uncomfortable, it's probably difficult to speak in his second language. But to that, I would say he's had 21 years to come up with an answer to that question in English. And he has no idea how to answer it. And just hems and haws and stammers. And it's just embarrassing. It made me want to turn off the radio.
Yeah. I mean, I was luckily, in Sandusky, Ohio at a baseball tournament for my son. So I missed all the Sosa hoopla, but I'm sure I would have been pretty annoyed if I kept turning on sports that weekend and seeing his fucking face on the TV or hearing his voice on the radio. So, I have a funny, since we're in the Cubs portion of this podcast, I have a funny.
That's all I've got. So
okay, I've been saving this. I have a funny Rockies stat from this season that ties back to a Cubs pitcher.
Okay. Do tell.
So as of Monday, the Rockies team OPS is the same as the lifetime OPS of Carlos Zambrano.
Oh my God.
That is how bad they are this year.
Wow. Where'd you get that one?
Some angry fucking Rockies fans who have been like pulling out these stats, and it's not good. That's awesome. Yeah, it's not good there. I mean, the White Sox they don't have to wear the crown. It's going to be like steam. It's going to be run over like at 150 miles an hour. They're not even, the record's going to be obliterated. I mean, they're on pace for 137 fucking losses.
They did win a series. They won like 3 games in a row, which was shocking. But that put them up to like 9 wins or something at that point. Yeah. That was a few weeks ago. So yeah, I can't imagine being a Rockies fan. Like, they've been kind of a forgotten franchise regardless of this current futility, but they have a beautiful ballpark. I mean, it's really, really fucking nice. Yeah. I love that there are hardcore fans out there with that much vitriol to look up Carlos Zambrano's. The
Yeah.
genesis of this podcast, actually, Carlos Zambrano's OPS.
That's why I wanted to share it. Like the
Yeah,
fact that
have
it was
to.
of all pitchers, it was Carlos Zambrano, who actually, he was not a
He
terrible hitter.
No, he had power. He had the anger.
Yeah, he had the anger. When he wasn't taking it out on a cooler, a Gatorade cooler, he would take it out on the baseball.
Well, thank you for that stat of the day. I like
Yeah.
that. That's great. We'll give anonymous Rockies fan the credit for it.
That's right. And quickly, before we move on to the Giants, I'm going to do an early shit Pete forgot.
Oh, okay.
How could we not bring up that the White Sox signed Thor to a minor league contract?
I think it's because it's rather forgettable, but
it is forgettable, but
Noah Syndergaard, former Lugnut, Lansing Lugnut.
Yes.
Signs with your White Sox. Breaking news. Was that yesterday morning?
Yeah, I think if we had done the podcast yesterday, it probably would have been the lead because we wouldn't have had the story of the idiot fan.
Yeah.
But then I kind of forgot about it because, like you said, it's forgettable. And then I was streaming through our notes and I'm like, oh, yeah, we signed Noah Syndergaard.
So did you see the details of that deal? It's a minor league deal, I know, but he has to be on the major league club before when, or else it's just null and void.
I think I didn't see what
is it August 1st, I think?
Yeah, it's like August 1 or whatever, which they got him for one reason, not to trade him, not to have him as a future, huge hand in the part of the rotation. They need to manage the workload of these young pitchers, and they are already talking. They don't want to end up in a Garrett Crochet situation like last year. Yeah. So having like a 7-man rotation, the ability to have something like that and stop having these bullpen games where they're exhausting the bullpen, is the reason they signed him. If they can get him to come out and throw 4 or 5 innings that are decent enough, which is probably a lot to ask, but
yeah, I think that's a lot. He hasn't pitched since 2023.
I know.
Has he?
No, but I mean, maybe it's 3 innings, but just something to like take some of the stress off of these younger arms. I mean, because you look at a guy like Shane Smith, the most innings he's ever pitched is 94 and a third in the minors or whatever, and he's already at 74 and a third.
Yeah, so got a lot of those piling up.
Yeah, so I mean, nothing to get excited about, but could be a nice, arm to have to eat up some innings, in games. So,
or it'll be great to see him out there if he does eventually make the major league club.
Now, moving on to the West Coast as they roll into town on the South Side, the San Francisco Giants. I'm gonna make an announcement that I'm done with my when is the bottom going to drop out for the Giants idea. I feel like they're going to be in this till the end. So I'm excited about this feeling I have. I feel like they've got enough, especially.
You're all over the place with the Giants this year.
I know. I'm very emotional ride with the Giants. But I feel like adding Devers and then, they could probably make another move or two before the trade deadline. I think they're positioning themselves to win. But they're sitting like 3.5 back. They have a wild card spot right now.
Yeah, I mean they're not going to run out of contention for the wild card spot. Yeah. I don't know about the division,
but the big thing I really wanted to talk about was what you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast was as quickly as Devers was traded and shockingly traded to the Giants, it was in time for them to face the Red Sox.
The irony.
Only like a week after the trade happened.
Yeah, it's like the first week. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So the Red Sox rolled into town. The Giants took 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I was hoping that would be in Boston, like the fireworks from that, like how crazy that would be with, he certainly wasn't being a good teammate necessarily throughout this past season to his Red Sox team. So the vitriol would have been interesting. But yeah, he had a soft landing there in San Francisco to face his old team.
Yeah, he didn't exactly light up the stat line. He went 0 for 5 on Friday in a 7-5 loss, but then had the 2-run homer on Saturday, going 1 for 4 in a 3-2 Giants win. I know it's shocking. The Giants won a game by 1 run.
Yeah, by 1 run. Well, him just getting that homer that was the headline for the weekend. He didn't have to do anything else. So.
Yeah. And then on Sunday, he went 1 for 3. with a walk and a run scored. Giants poured it on Sunday with a 9-5 win. But the Giants took 2 out of 3. That has to give them some joy. But I ran across an interesting article regarding Devers and the Giants, and apparently the Giants, being at a new ballpark and all, it's a much bigger outfield than what they have in Boston.
Yeah, I'd say so.
To say the least. The Giants coaches, especially the hitting coach, noticed some things in Devers' swing. So they did some switches to his mechanics, and it seems to be paying off. They adjusted his launch angle. There's been a noted slight uptick in his average launch angle, helping him lift more balls into the outfield, likely contributing to the... I don't know if you saw that home run on Saturday.
No, I missed it.
It was fucking...
Majestic?
Majestic is, the word.
Right.
They've compacted his mechanics a little bit to tighten his swing path, especially against high fastballs, because apparently that was his, he's super susceptible to that.
Okay.
The way his swing was, because his swing is basically a typical left-handed power hitting swing where low and in, and he's going to destroy you.
Sure.
But anything outside of that, it was kind of all cold zones for him, so to speak. So it's a very small sample size, but right now his heat zones have expanded since joining the Giants to where his areas where he normally struck out on are the mid to higher pitches are turning into heat zones for him now. And he's getting more balanced plate coverage. And I think that's part of it, is them, telling him you're going to make a great living out here if you're hitting the opposite field a lot too.
Yeah.
Because of how big our outfield is. So I don't know, he's got a little more balanced plate coverage so far with the Giants than we've seen. So I thought that was interesting that, to your point, before we started officially recording this podcast, Smitty said, there's nothing to fix in his swing, but
for the ballpark, that makes sense though.
Yeah.
You hit to the ballpark you're in. So it's very radical. I mean, is there more two diametrically opposed stadiums than San Francisco and Fenway? I mean, they don't resemble each other at all for how small Fenway is versus the cavernous area of I always forget that. Is it Oracle Park?
It's Oracle Park, yeah.
Okay, I always want to call it SBC something or
Pac Bell.
Pac Bell was the best name. That made sense, but
yeah. But yeah, well, that's it. That's all I got for my Giants. Just wanted to cover off on some my new favorite Giant, Rafael Devers.
You getting a jersey?
I might. He was always he's one of my favorite MLB players. So when they fucking got him,
he's pretty good.
The babyface assassin. I mean, when they got him, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? They got one of my favorite MLB players? No way.
Anchor of my fantasy team. First placed Capital City.
Shut the fuck up.
Dirtbags.
I've changed my team to day-to-day.
Yeah, what is that? I saw
because
that.
everyone's fucking day-to-day on it. That's why I'm in last place.
I thought it was a complaint of yours somehow. You're whining about something with your team.
Yeah, I'm whining about my team being day-to-day. So I'm lucky if
is your logo like tears coming down your face? Or what is it?
Some creepy looking person, like a wheelchair or something, I think.
All right.
Something I found on the website.
And that was our fantasy minute.
too long.
Well, I would move over to the other side of the bay, but the Los Oaklamento Athletics are in Sacramento these days. Actually, they're in Detroit these days. They're played the Tigers last night, playing again here in about an hour. They got off to a good start last night against Tarek Skubal, of all pitchers. They hit two different 2-run homers in the first 2 innings, but they ended up losing 11-4 because the Tigers are fucking awesome. I haven't watched a whole lot of A's this year, but their offense is pretty impressive. Actually, they've got a lot of scary hitters. No one you've ever heard of except for Brent Rooker, maybe. But Lawrence Butler is up there. Nick. Oh, actually, we're going to go over a lot of these guys during our badasses of the first half. So we'll get closer through that. But the big A's news that I saw this week, and you saw the same thing. You sent me it the other morning. Somehow I was kind of blown away and scratching my head because I saw a groundbreaking ceremony in Las Vegas for the new Las Vegas Athletic Stadium, right there in the Tropicana, old site of the Tropicana, I believe.
Yes.
Which you've heard about. But the part that I missed was that the Nevada legislature was, I thought they still needed to agree to pay for at least a portion of the stadium. And I have still not seen an announcement that that's happening, but they're going ahead and breaking ground to build this new stadium. As John Fisher is agreed to pay. Originally, it was going to be, I think it was $1.25 billion of his own money, and requesting more from the state, and that was not going to happen. So he then said he would throw in $1.7 billion. But apparently there's still a 300, I forget what you said, $365 million shortfall.
Or 385 or something like that.
385 that, he's expecting the taxpayers of Nevada to pay for. But that, I don't think that's come to fruition quite yet.
I just don't know how you break ground without the funds in place, because it's not like let's just say I owe you the 385 million. Well, that's not something, it doesn't go down like that.
I feel like it's I don't understand all the ins and outs of high finance and public financing and all that, but it seems like a terrible leverage ploy by John Fisher, because he just put his fucking dick in the ground. And now if they don't give him the money, he's going to have to fit the bill no matter what. So it's if he's moving forward, he's going to pay for it. So I think he just told the taxpayers in Nevada that if they don't want to pay for it, he'll end up paying for it, which he should in the first place. But it's just a terrible leverage play on his part. I guess I did see that in this groundbreaking ceremony, it was all the local politicians were there. It wasn't just a bunch of A's executives. It was the mayor of Las Vegas, the commissioner of the county or whatever. I think the governor was there. There was state legislatures there, all with their hard hats and shovels. So it wasn't like the government was, steering away from this. They were all in, but I still haven't seen how that bill is gonna be paid by the Nevada taxpayers. But you saw the article. Did you have any other details that I missed on that?
No. I just was. I don't know. I guess I just will remain surprised that there's a groundbreaking ceremony without the stadium paid for. So,
well, they say they are going to open. They'll be ready for opening day in 2028, which is actually pretty strategically timed, because there's probably not going to be a season in 2027. So that would have been foolish to say you're going to start in 2027. So
yeah,
that part seems plausible. I think a 3-year build seems like it could happen, but I don't know. I'm still dubious about this whole stadium idea in Las Vegas. So I guess we'll see. That was some news I was not prepared to see. So I guess we'll have to stay tuned. That is all I have for the first half of the show, unless you had any other shit Pete forgot.
No, that was it. The big White Sox signing was the only thing I had forgotten.
Well, I think before we jump into our badasses of the first half, I'd like to take a break here, grab a beer, take a piss, get prepared.
All right.
Go for our... this is essentially... I don't think we've done it quite like this before. We've done our all-star rankings before, or from our 5 teams.
Yeah, we've done we've picked the one player who would be each, but we're switching it up. We're through Smitty's brilliance. He's like, why aren't they just the badasses?
I'm not sure.
The badass team. I'm like, God, that's so refreshing. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, we will do that when we were back here on the Word Hole Media Network. All right. Welcome to the first annual Badasses of the First Half. Essentially our weird all-star ballot nominations from the 5 teams that we cover here. The Cubs, Sox, Tigers, Giants, and A's. Basically, we assemble our own all-star team from those rosters. I just took the MLB all-star ballot and pulled all the names off of that from those 5 teams. And then it's funny, the MLB doesn't include WAR in the stats. They give it a little stat line for all the players involved. They give average, which is hilarious that people are still using average. By the way, if you're voting for someone or choosing to vote for someone and choosing against someone based on their batting average, you're a relic. You don't understand baseball, especially when OPS is listed right next to it almost. If you don't understand the value of OPS versus average, I hope you don't listen to this podcast. Or if you do, please learn something from this. But OPS is far more indicative of a player's offensive prowess than average will ever be. They also include RBI, which I think is kind of funny still, and home runs, of course, which is always valuable. But they didn't include stolen bases or WAR, which I think is kind of funny. But so I added in stolen bases on our own. So I made up my own basic rankings to nominate my players. So I put those all in order for you to read over there. But we go position by position and build our own badasses of the first half. And then when we're done with that, we're gonna nominate our ultimate badass, basically the MVP of the first half based on that list. So I think you said, do we have first base was first on the list?
Yeah,
Makes sense.
We're starting at the number 3 position, first base.
All right.
That for those of you who don't know that is based on scoring.
Yes,
on the scoring a game. All right, so I'm going to start at your lowest ranked person at the position and work our way up. I would say outside of like probably outfield, this position is got a lot of guys who if someone was having an off season would probably be in the race of winning this title. But
it's a deep position.
It's a pretty deep position with everyone in double digit homers. So pulling in at the bottom, not surprising, it's a White Sox player. It's Miguel Vargas with 10 homers, 34 RBIs, 750 OPS, and he's snuck in 3 stolen bases this year. So,
and I kind of looked at RBI a little bit here and there as a comparison, but I also took into account, what kind of offense they were surrounded by. So I think 34 RBI is pretty respectable for Vargas on the White Sox. So I didn't hold that against him. That's not why I put him in last, but it's like you said, it's just a deep position.
Coming up next from my San Francisco Giants, Wilmer Flores, 11 homers, 54 RBI, 726 OPS, and a stolen base. Next from Sacramento, or should I just say from the Athletics?
Yeah, you're not supposed to say a city.
Yes.
They frown upon that.
Rookie sensation Nick Kurtz, 10 homers, 25 RBIs, 811 OPS, and nothing on the base paths. And then from Cub, Michael Busch, pretty good numbers here, 12 homers, 44 RBIs, 869 OPS, and 3 stolen bases. He does kind of own the OPS category in this position. Debate. I mean, like in aggressive fashion, because you have, of course, no surprise here, probably with 5 home runs, you'd have him listed number 1. Spencer Torkelson with 16 homers, 49 RBI, 800 OPS, 69 points lower than Michael Busch, and a stolen base.
Still, it's 800 OPS is very impressive. The 16 bombs. He's the feel-good return story of the season. Comeback player. But yeah, you're right. I could have put Michael Busch, and I wouldn't stop you if you wanted to put Michael Busch as our first base badass of the first half. But I don't know. It's up to you.
I feel better putting Spencer Torkelson there. One, because he's not on the Cubs. He is on the Tigers.
You can't hold the Cubs against. I tried not to hold the White Sox or Giants against my rankings.
But he's also, to your point, it's an incredible turnaround for this kid.
Mm-hmm.
He was basically told, "You're like, we're not sure what we're going to do with you," and he said, "Well, wait, just hold that thought."
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm good with Spence.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah,
I like that. Spencer Torkelson, you are our first base badass of the first half.
All right. So
go around the horn.
Yeah.
Base.
Going to second base. This is real crazy how we're doing this. So we're going to go with Tyler Fitzgerald with 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, a 609 OPS, but 9 stolen bases. So,
yeah,
not a terrible showing.
Second base is really disappointing in general.
Yeah. Power Man today, Sammy Sosa.
Yes.
I know we're not doing updated stats, but it would certainly change because it wouldn't be fair to the other guys, but he moves up to number 2 on the home run list after today.
I pulled these numbers after Monday's games because we thought we were going to record yesterday. So I didn't even get last night's stats, let alone today's stats. But yes, if you'd like to change your vote based on the last 2 days versus the rest of the first half,
that's right. I am. I'm changing my vote. I'm making Sammy Sosa the second baseman because he's now has 6 home runs, 20 RBIs, and I have no idea what his OPS is, and a stolen base and a caught stealing today.
What was his OPS?
674.
Okay, that's better than I thought. I was thinking it might be in the 5s, but
next on the list is Nico Horner with no homers, 31
0.
RBIs.
He just hit a home run last night, of course.
There you go. So 1 homer, 33 RBI maybe.
Okay.
OPS maybe bigger than 6084, but 14 stolen bases. So that's
he's contributing on the base pass. But
up next is
that's why I find it was curious that Major League Baseball doesn't include stolen bases in the stats they show for people, like just the surface level stats. They just don't value it, which I think is stupid.
Well, yeah, it is stupid. Luis Urias, 7 homers, 17 RBI. 733 OPS, 2 stolen bases. And this turns out to be pretty easy. Another player who I've really enjoyed, who I always thought was going to be like a superstar, never quite happened with the Yankees, but he seems to be coming into his own with the Tigers. Gleyber Torres with 7 homers, 38 RBIs, 804 OPS. 804 OPS.
Yeah.
As a second baseman. Well, come on.
He's leading the Major League All-Star balloting, not just ours, for second base. He's going to win it. So
and 4 stolen bases. So I'm fine with Gleyber Torres.
He has just been so steady, just a confident at bat. Anytime he comes up, I feel like something good's going to happen, or he'll have a quality at bat if it doesn't produce necessarily. So he's looked great in a Tigers uniform. He never, like you said, he never quite lived up to the billing necessarily in New York for whatever reason, but he's a professional second baseman, I guess is the best way to put it. With an OPS over 800, I would have been happy with, over 700 out of my second baseman. So he's everything the Tigers could have, so could want. So we've got 2 Tigers already on our badass of the first half list. So this is amazing.
It does make sense, though. They are the first team to 50 wins. They
are the best team in baseball.
I learned today that also makes them the first team to 40 and to 30 wins. So
they were, yes.
There you go. All right. I'm going to move over to shortstop, just go around the diamond here.
All right.
Pulling in at the bottom there is Trey Sweeney. With 4 homers, 23 RBI, 593 OPS, and 2 stolen bases.
He is the weak link of the Tigers' offense, essentially. That's a position that, fortunately, we've also got Javi Baez that can play shortstop, but he is not listed as a shortstop in this by Major League Baseball. So as high as I just was over the first 2 positions, that's about as bad as the Tigers get at shortstop.
Coming up next is one of my favorite players right now, Chase Meardroth. 2 homers, 9 RBIs, 673 OPS, 9 stolen bases. Something that isn't put on the stat is I think he's only not reached base in like 10 games this year. So it's kind of fucking crazy. So.
I know he was a Tiger killer. He was on base constantly. You were sending me updates as I was watching.
I was updating
as if I needed it, but thank you.
I was updating his average for you because it was so high. The average was so high.
But he would he was like just on base, even if he wasn't hitting, he'd walk or whatever. I think he was on base like 9 out of 11 times. It was crazy.
Coming up next, which is a nice surprise because he started off a little slow for the Giants, is Willy Adames. With 9 homers, 33 RBI, 641 OPS and 3 stolen bases. He's not living up to what happened last year, but
that OPS is just shocking.
Starting to pick it up a little bit. So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what happens moving forward.
Ballpark factor? You think that's an
I
issue
think a
for
little
him?
bit, but I don't know. You find, don't you see it a lot lately? The guy comes in with a big contract. His first year is sort of like, eh. Yeah. Then his next year, he's back to normal. So
that happens a lot. You're right.
It's weird. I mean, look at Juan Soto right now.
Let's not.
Love that one. Dansby Swanson, 14. I mean, this is a huge turnaround from last year, right?
Yeah.
14 homers, 39 RBI, 712 OPS, and 7 stolen bases. But again, a crazy ass OPS for a shortstop from he's on the Athletics, right? Jacob Wilson.
He certainly is. He's also on the Capital City Dirtbags.
Oh, fuck off. 9 home runs, 40 RBIs, 883 OPS.
Yeah,
higher than the highest OPS we've talked about today so far. And 5 stolen bases.
Yeah.
Well, I begrudgingly give another one of your teams a position.
Yeah, it's got to be. The A's. I'm surprised.
The all-star asshole team.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if an A was going to make our team. We had to make sure they were represented somehow. But yeah, it came up quickly that Jacob Wilson is certainly a worthy badass of the first half.
Well, just for the sake of conversation, I will go over third base stats, except for the easy winner. But because this is abysmal. This is a position that is all our teams outside of the Giants have
honestly,
issues at. And
third base is kind of weak across the majors. The more you look into it, it's kind of a dearth of talent. That's why, I mean, going into the season, both my Tigers and Cubs were talking about getting help at third base, and they did not get that. And if they had landed somehow Alex Bregman, he's hurt, so that he would have been easily the best third baseman in baseball, I think. So it's weird. It's kind of a forgotten position almost.
Yeah, and it's not like the White Sox have like a third baseman. They play so many people over there. But
I was wondering about that.
They have to pick someone on the ballot because honestly,
I guess I could have gone off ballot, but I didn't know what else to do other than grab it right from.
Yeah, it's
MLB.
funny. It's funny they put Vargas at first on the ballot because he's really played third more than first.
That's what I.
But whatever.
What can you do?
So we'll go with the very a player I'm not totally clear why I guess just because he's a veteran why he plays as much as he does for the White Sox, but Josh Rojas, 0 homers, 6 RBI, 44 OPS, 4 stolen bases.
Sorry, I had to put him on the list.
Fall asleep. Up next, Matt Shaw with 2 homers, 9 RBIs, 611 OPS, 8 stolen bases.
At least he looks like a major league third baseman out on the field. He can actually play the position where everyone else the Cubs have tried at third this year has not looked like a competent professional. So his offensive numbers are not what you want, but he's not costing them in the field necessarily. So that's why Matt Shaw is there.
Miguel Andujar, 3 home runs, 20 RBI, 730 OPS, 1 stolen base. That's for the Athletics. The surprising play of one Zach McKinstry this year, although he looked like he was going to have some pretty good power numbers. I guess from a home run standpoint, but that kind of he had his week, and then it all kind of went away.
He had a good first 2 months, and he's kind of tailed off. He's a career utility player. He actually was with the Cubs for a while, but for the Tigers, he's been really solid. He's definitely tailed off in the last month. But I wouldn't count on those power numbers continuing. What were his numbers again?
4 homers, 21 RBIs, 778 OPS, 8 stolen bases. I mean, he bats 7th or something?
He's down in the order, but
so this will be easy. San Francisco Giants, Matt Chapman, 12 homers, 30 RBIs, 812 OPS, 7 stolen bases. I think it's a no-brainer. Matt Chapman.
An easy one. There you go.
Third base.
Ding, 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 ding. There's a Pete player right
That's
there.
right. All right.
Badass in the first half.
Let's move over to catcher. Some interesting stuff here.
Yeah.
All right. So pulling up the rear, not surprising. Giants have definitely had a hole there since
can't find a way to replace Buster Posey.
Yeah.
Buster Posey can't replace himself.
I know. Maybe he should sign himself and get down there. Patrick Bailey. These are some impressive stats.
I had never heard of it. I forgot that name completely. I didn't even know that was your catcher. So
yeah, he was a rookie last year, and then he was like kind of up and down last year.
Okay.
Let's look at these impressive numbers, everyone. Are you ready? 1 home run, 16 RBI, 531 OPS, and no stolen bases. So there you go.
That's the catcher position.
Yeah. Up next, White Sox rookie Edgar Cuero. No homers. He is definitely not hitting or even looking like he's trying to hit for power. He's kind of spraying the ball over the field. 17 RBI, 653 OPS, no stolen bases. Probably winner of best name on this entire list, Dylan Dingler.
Oh yeah. He'll win that contest every year.
For the Tigers. 7 home runs, 31 RBI, 731 OPS, no stolen base. Which is funny. We are bringing up stolen bases for a reason, and we will get to it shortly.
Exactly.
Now, the most surprising name on this list that, at least in the position, he would have been on the list because he's on the Cubs, but Carson Kelly. 9 home runs, 26 RBI, and 828 OPS.
Yeah, he had, I think in the first 2 months, he had like a 1600 OPS. It was ridiculous what was happening. That has definitely tailed off, but his prodigious first couple months was plenty to put him at the top of the list, in my mind at least.
And finally, Shea Langoliers.
Yeah.
10 homers, 27 RBI. 730 OPS, and that's right, guys. The catcher, 4 stolen bases.
Yeah. I went back and forth with Langoliers and Kelly. I could definitely go either way. The OPS was definitely based on numbers earlier in the first half. I guess it doesn't matter, though. Like, it's just that we're counting the whole first half. So,
I mean, I kind of lean towards Carson Kelly in this one.
Actually, that would be our first Cub, then, wouldn't it be? We've already had a athletic. So let's even it out with.
Well, that's probably going to change in a quick second. For obvious reasons, but I would put Carson Kelly there.
Okay, I think that probably makes sense. I don't remember how I was putting that list together. I put Shea Langoliers ahead, but that was foolish. Let's go with Carson Kelly.
You're giving him some cred for those 4 stolen bases. Which
I think that's what I got fired up about stolen bases for a minute there.
All right. So now we're going to pick 3 people from this list.
Of outfielders.
Outfielders. This list is going to take a minute.
Yeah, there's, of course, there'd be 15 nominees, 3 at each of the 5 teams we cover. I just put them all in. I was thinking about eliminating it, but fuck it. Why don't we just talk about all of them from the bottom up?
All right. So we'll start with, not a surprise, Michael A. Taylor. 4 homers, 17 RBI, 648 OPS. 7 stolen bases, though. Nice to see. Lewis Robert Jr., who only made it through the top of the first today before he left with tightness in his hamstring.
Oh, boy. There it is again.
7 home runs, although he actually has 8 now because he had one last night. 32 RBI, 573 OPS, unbelievable. But 22 stolen bases.
The stolen bases
is second in the league.
I could have moved him up the list on that, but his OPS, he's supposed to be a power hitter. That's what in the world?
Jung-Ho Lee, who's kind of like Carson Kelly in a way, was like had a 1,200 OPS for the first couple months. It's kind of tailored off. 6 home runs, 34 RBI, 724 OPS, 6 stolen bases for the Giants. JJ Bleday. I don't know. Some of that name makes me laugh.
It sounds like a bloody bidet.
Yeah, maybe
I was thinking about that yesterday.
He's got 8 homers, 22 RBI, 664 OPS, 1 stolen base. Mike Yastrzemski, 6 homers, 26 RBIs, 742 OPS, 5 stolen bases. Andrew Benintendi had a home run today. So that puts him at 932 RBI, I think, 739 OPS. Pretty good bounce back season for him. It's probably
$75 million.
Yes, finally getting close to earning it. Javi Baez, talk about finally earning a paycheck. How much is that per year?
6 years, 140. So yeah, it's a lot.
Way worse than the Benintendi contract.
Yeah.
9 home runs.
Except he's actually producing now. So
so is Benintendi. 9 home runs.
Last place team.
36 RBIs and an 801 OPS with 1 stolen base.
Who would have thought that Javi would be not like on the All-Star ballot for the outfield? Like, it's never happened until this season. He played a tremendous center field for the Tigers in his time when they had all 3 of their center fielders were out for various reasons. He held it down for like probably close to 4 weeks and didn't have any missteps, and in fact made some incredible plays in center field. And he's been hitting the ball. He's not quite at the level he was a couple weeks ago, but just another renaissance story in Detroit. People are actually calling him Javi Baez or El Mago. That those names, he is no longer Javier Baez, or Javier Baez is the other name they started calling him. But Javi's being Javi again. It's really cool to see, because I've talked about this ad nauseum, but I
sure have.
Being a Cubs fan, I saw what you knew who El Mago was, and Detroit never saw that until this first half. So he's not quite to the level of first half badass for our outfield, but I think he would have been for shortstop if Major League Baseball had placed him there. So sorry, go ahead.
What is he, year 3 of the Tigers contract?
This is 4.
So it took him 4 years to learn how to play baseball again. Interesting.
He had hip surgery in the offseason, so
that's
talk
right.
About
that. Kerry Carpenter, 13 homers, 27 RBI, 729 OPS, 1 stolen base.
Ian? Carp,
yeah.
He got off to a really hot start and has not done hardly anything over the last month, so that's a little disturbing. Although he had a home run yesterday, actually. So
yeah, there's these home runs. All these home runs were happening. Well,
a lot happened last night that I missed, and I didn't have the time or energy to recalculate the stats today. So I'm sorry.
I don't think it's really I don't think any of them make a world of difference for this.
Okay.
Ian Happ, 11 homers, 37 RBIs, 749 OPS, 4 stolen bases, and a podcaster. So we have to add that in.
The compound.
Yes. Lawrence Butler, 11 homers.
Former Lansing Lugnut. Current Oclamento A.
Oclamento A.
Yeah.
11 homers, 32 RBI, 771 OPS, 11 stolen bases.
Also a Capital City dirtbag.
Anyway.
First place.
Tyler Soderstrom,
I believe.
14 homers, 45 RBI, 775 OPS, 5 stolen bases. All right, now the list gets interesting.
What number are we at now? We've counted down. We started at 15. We're moved up to.
We've got the final 4. Is what we're about to enter. Right.
This is where it gets tough.
Now we're talking. Heliot Ramos, 13 homers, 43 RBIs, 835 OPS, 5 stolen bases. Probably, I don't know. We're not counting this, but I know you're talking about clutch fucking home runs. This guy, he's so fucking clutch for.
They didn't have
Giants.
The clutch stat listed, so I was looking for that, but I couldn't find that.
This guy's having a pretty good year. His 1 year with the Cubs. Kyle Tucker, 15 home runs, 46 RBIs, a 912 OPS.
Yeah.
And 18 stolen bases, because everything else wasn't good enough.
I didn't
18 bags.
I didn't realize he had that many stolen bases already, too. I feel like he hasn't even scratched the surface of what he can be doing with the Cubs at Wrigley Field. So I think I'm looking for an even bigger second half out of Kyle Tucker.
Coming up next, a defensive phenom, Riley Green. This guy I watched him against the White Sox steal a home run, make an incredible catch in the corner. He's every
day.
He's
That was not just against your White Sox. He's doing that shit all. And he was actually, they were talking about it on the broadcast last night. He was told coming through the minors that he was not a very good outfielder. He just got pissed about it and became a very good outfielder through the help of the Tigers coaching staff. So
not only is a good defensive outfielder, he's a good offensive outfielder. 17 home runs, 59 RBI, 875 OPS.
Yeah.
And hey, he's got a stolen base.
He's a potential MVP candidate when it comes down to it. If the Tigers do what I hope they do and what they're on pace to be doing, he is the leader in the clubhouse, offensively, defensively, everywhere. He's living up to all the billing, and it's super cool to see. I just need to keep him healthy.
But now let's look at the most obnoxious outfield stats. Probably it's not Aaron Judge numbers from a home run standpoint, but close. But I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong, did the Mets look back on it and say, wow, we did
2 months of Javi Baez.
2 months of Javi Baez, or we could have had this on the team we have right now.
Yeah. I don't even know who's playing center field for them right now, but it's not Pete Crow Armstrong.
It's not this. All right, you guys ready? You sitting down? This dude, we were so sketch on him last year because he's acting like he had already won an MVP and his attitude.
Even in spring training this year, I was negative on it because he had the fucking weird hair. I don't think he had blue hair this year. I think he had stars in his hair and just calling way too much attention to himself. And he was making simple mistakes in the outfield, and which he did last night. Actually, he forgot how many outs there were and gave up eventually the game-winning run, which is. But I digress. We're talking about how great Pete Crow Armstrong is offensively.
21 home runs, not bad. 61 RBIs already. 877 OPS. But then, if that's not enough, he's got 23 stolen bases, guys. I mean,
he's the fastest Cub in history to get 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases. He passed, wait for it, Sammy Sosa. Which of course came up this weekend. But so he was faster to those numbers by 17 games or something like that. So
I'm surprised Sammy didn't take his knee out or something.
The spotlight needs to be on him.
Yeah, I know.
But I think PCA is kind of the similar personality where the spotlight needs to be on him, which is kind of fucking annoying. But I think it's obvious that PCA needs to be our center fielder, at least for the first half badasses.
Yeah. Riley Green's in left, right?
Yep.
I don't even know where.
Kyle Tucker's right field. So I didn't do that on purpose. It just worked out perfectly. And MLB they just put outfield.
Yeah.
They don't do positions specifically. So that made sense to me right there, unless you wanted to throw in I forget the Giants.
Heliot Ramos.
Yeah. Ramos.
No, I mean, I just don't think it's as balanced as Kyle Tucker, since they're probably closest to one another in a way, or even Riley Green. I'm fine with Pete Crow, Riley Green, and Kyle Tucker being the outfield.
I think it's the definitive outfield for our first half badasses.
All right, now the conversation gets a little more interesting.
Yeah, DH.
So
I love it. It's so refreshing. Just remember those days when there was not a DH in the National League and how stupid that was for 50 fucking years.
Yes.
Sorry.
But without that, I wouldn't have been able to give the fun fact that the Rockies offense's OPS this year is the same as Carlos Zambrano. So it does lend itself to some comedic value.
That is the most perspective you have ever given me on any of my ridiculous opinions. That's fantastic. And you've also tied this podcast in a bow perfectly. That was some tremendous podcasting right there.
All right.
Bravo.
Let me applaud myself. I am MVP. So, I mean,
you're MVP for a reason.
Yeah. What would you expect? Anything less? I don't think so. Okay. Coming up the rear, but not terrible. Mike Tauchman, who is the Sox leadoff hitter right now.
Is he really?
Yeah. Just because, because he gets on base a lot, as you will see.
I think he might be a big trade candidate at the deadline, actually.
For sure. He was roping the ball over the field today. He had 3 hits today. 4 homers, 14 RBIs, 829 OPS. No
Does
stolen
he
bases.
exclusively do DH for you, or does he move around?
Only right now because he's having some issues, but he'll be back in the outfield once that's cleared up. Colt Keith, 6 home runs, 24 RBI, 733 OPS.
He's starting to turn it on. He had a slow first month and a half or so, and he's starting to figure it out. Colt Keith is he's a potential second half beast. I would look for him as we go forward to be putting up big numbers.
All right. Well, we will be on the lookout for that. And if he doesn't, I will bring this up.
Remember this?
I will remember this moment and bring it up. Brent Rooker, 15, actually 16 homers after the other night. 40
That's right.
RBI or more than that. 833 OPS and 2 stolen bases. I'm shocked that he has 2 stolen bases, but hey.
That puts him third in this list. Those numbers are incredible. I mean, wow.
All right. Now the real debate occurs.
Yeah, this is
my guy. One of my favorite players in MLB, now a San Francisco Giant. The babyface assassin, Rafael Devers.
Is that his real nickname? Or are you calling him that?
No, that's his real nickname. That's because he does have a baby face and is a clutch hitter. He could be considered what they call a clutch hitter.
All right, there's that clutch stat I keep missing.
16 home runs, 61 RBIs, 889 OPS. Yeah. I think that's the winner of OPS in this list.
And he struck out like his first 12 at bats of the season. Like,
yes.
Just imagine if he had a couple more hits in that.
And possibly, I don't know if he qualifies as a comeback player also, like Torkelson would, because of his dismal first, or I don't know if it's completely dismal, but just rocky first season with the Cubs. But Seiya Suzuki, 20 home runs, 64 RBI.
Oh.
He has a very low OPS at 846 compared to Rafael Devers, 889.
Okay.
But he does have one more stolen base. 2.
I think we can cross off the stolen base list. So you've got Devers has the higher OPS by quite a bit. What are the home run totals again?
20 to 16 and 64 to 61. I mean,
that's a push there. So it came kind of balancing the home runs to OPS. So I could certainly see Devers. I think it was the home runs that I put on top, but I think we can put Devers in there if that's the direction you wanted to go.
It would really make me happy if we had Rafael Devers on this team.
I think you could see why there would be a debate, but yeah, I'm not gonna cry about that. I think that's a fine representative for a DH first half badasses.
All right.
So now we've gone around the diamond. We've gone through the outfield and the DH slot. We didn't have any White Sox, did we?
No, I just don't.
I don't think that's a surprise, but it just dawned on me.
We might be able to sneak one in next week at pitcher.
Okay. Yeah, we did not do pitchers. I don't know if I just mentioned this on the air or not, but of course they're not on the All-Star ballot, and I didn't want to look up, just try to figure out what pitchers we're talking about and then look up everyone's stats. We'll do that next week. I'll have time to go through all those. So that'll be our second half of our first half badass discussion. But so now we should talk about who our ultimate badass is.
I mean, is this even worth a conversation? It's obviously Pete Crow Armstrong.
I mean, you sent me the text after he made that catch in the outfield. I think it was on Wednesday night last week. And then 3 minutes later hit a bomb off the fucking video board.
Yeah.
At that point, Pat Hughes is quoted as saying, "It's like we're watching a movie and PCA is the star."
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. That was kind of his if he's had multiple moments like that, but that was just a ridiculous 3 minutes specifically. But yeah, I know you were impressed by the video board shot.
Yeah, I didn't know the other part of it. Although I will say that play he did make a few minutes later or whatever order it happened, it did remind me a little bit of the Eloy, Lewis Robert exchanges in the outfield, because whoever was playing left for you was kind of there, but Armstrong was coming over full speed, so they just got out of the way and let him take it.
And that's center field, deference, but yeah. It kind of reminded me of like, well, I think the left fielder could have made that play, but oh well. It looked cool.
It looked cool though. Yeah.
It's good for the story too.
Yeah.
So the movie plot.
Yes. All right.
Wow. Well, that was fun. I think we will continue this every year. I think we should do this exact same exercise at the end of the year. Basically doing our MVPs and, all season team at the end of the season. Coming up in October if you want.
Rocktober?
Badass.
Rocktober?
We'll kind of change, like we've done a badass of the year. We do our asshole of the year, of course, but we could do our badass of the year, but make that the ultimate badass from the year, essentially. Carry on this format at least. Well, that was fun. Good work.
Yes. We got through all the stats. We did. I think we, considering getting through the outfielders like that, I think we did a pretty good time.
Yeah, we probably don't have to list 15 outfielders, but
I think
we could adjust that if we need to. Maybe top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely should have. We probably could have lopped off that whole.
That's a lot of Whites. There's a lot of White Sox I was lopping off there, though.
Yeah, I mean, we could have
about that.
We could have moved. We could have thrown Robert on just because of stolen bases, or could have just left Benintendi on maybe. But
he would have made the top 10. You're right.
Yeah. So anyway.
All right. Well, I think with that wraps up this episode 171 of Major League A-Holes. You can find us on social media at Major League A-Holes and at Sox Type Thing on Twitter.
You're right over there?
Yeah. Sorry. It's getting late. We've been on this for a while. You can find us on the web at majorleagueaholes.com, and you can find us on YouTube. Check out our YouTube page. Subscribe. Hit the bell to get notifications.
Do it.
I keep hearing podcasters say that, but
ring the bell.
Yeah, you can get notifications. We've got like 323 subscribers. We don't get that many views on each of our videos, which is confusing to me. So if you subscribe, also hit the bell, I guess, so you know when our new videos come up. So
do it.
Check that out. You can check out this podcast anywhere you'd like to find a podcast. So with that, I'm going to declare this podcast is over. Peace.
Peace.
Word Hole Media.